Why? Why is it that when you're looking for something, it's always in the last place you look? And why is it when you're troubleshooting, it's always the last place you investigate that is the answer for what the issue was? This was my situation when my wife was going to have 11 ladies over for a brunch. And the forecast was for 21 degrees. And so she wanted the gas fireplace lit with a nice orange glow. And so a week before, I go to test and nothing. Well, I had a spark and I had a little pilot, but then it would puff, but it wouldn't ignite and wouldn't stay on. So I start troubleshooting. Always start with the easiest first. So I start to investigate. I start doing my YouTube and Google searches. They tell me that this switch is a low voltage switch, and that this is quite common, that there's connections issues or some sort of wiring that has just come undone. And so that was the thing to check. So I checked that. But the fact that I had a spark suggests to me that it wasn't the switch. I was still getting current from the switch down underneath the unit. So what that does is it takes the current from the switch down to this control module that you see here. That control module then sends a signal over to the control valve for the unit and tells it to send gas. Again, the fact that I was getting a spark suggests to me that everything was fine electrically from the switch to the control module. So the next thing that YouTube tells me is it could be this igniter. Now in my model, this is an all-in-one igniter. It has the sparker. I call it the sparker. This is the igniter. It's similar to the igniter on your gas grill. It just does the little and it ignites the pilot. That's the second component, is the pilot comes up right there and you see the pilot line. And then this heatilator igniter, like I said, it's all in one, has this little temperature sensor. Your model may have what's known as a thermocouple. Now the job of your thermocouple or this temperature sensor is to tell the control module whether or not the gas is going and whether or not the flame is going. If your gas fireplace is not running, that is, it doesn't have a flame, this indicator says, oh, it's too cold, turn off the gas, something's wrong. This is a safety measure to keep your gas from filling up that chamber and causing an explosion. But I'm in luck, because my next door neighbor has the same model heatilator that I have. So while they're out of town, I go and I swap out this igniter. And I plug it in, hook it all up, spark, 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 pilot, and big puff, and then nothing. So the next thing they tell me is that it could be the control module. These control modules, I come to find out, have a shelf life. They last about 2 to 4 years, and then they need replacement. So I order one online. The clock's still ticking, and I'm still troubleshooting. I've only got 7 days to figure this out. So I order one, and I get it, and I put it in. My recommendation is when you're installing and swapping out anything electrical like this, have the new replacement on hand so that you can unplug one wire directly into the other so that you don't get them mixed up. Leverage on the bundle. So I completely swap out the control module. Flick the switch, same thing. Spark, 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 pilot, big poof, nothing. So finally, I call the service tech. You know, when you've reached the end of the road, you ask for help. So I called the Fireplace company. It's nice to have a trained professional say, you did a good job, Eddie. So I call a trained professional, and he comes out and he checks my work. And I described the whole situation to him. He checks all the wiring and everything, and he sees the same result. He says, you checked everything that I would have checked. So then he disconnects the main line. That is this main line that feeds the unit. He opens the valve wide open like you see here, and there's no smell, no hiss, nothing. He says, you've got no gas coming from the house. We checked the tank, it still has gas. We checked the regulator, still good. We checked the line all the way through the house. No crimps, nothing bumped into it and closed it off. I should have gas. He says, you got an issue with the regulator. Now, I would say, yeah, it sounds like we have a regulator issue, but we had the regulator replaced just last year. In fact, this will have been the 4th regulator on that tank since we've been in the house 4 years ago. So I call the gas company and explain the situation, and they say, okay, we'll have somebody out. It's very uncommon that you would have that many regulators on your tank in that time. But they sent somebody out. It took him 15 minutes to swap out the regulator.
But you...
And he says, go try it now. I come inside, I flick the switch, and spark, spark, spark. Beautiful orange glow. 1 hour before the ladies get here. He just pulls out of the driveway, and in rolls our first guests of the day. So why is it always the last thing that you investigate that was the issue? Well, I think George Carlin said it best. Why is it always in the last place you look? Well, who finds something and keeps looking for it? Who troubleshoots something and keeps investigating what the problem was when you found what the problem was all along? I hope this is helpful. I'm Eddie Field, Field Guide to DIY. I'm out.